Take a deep breath, exhale, and join us for this episode of Hope Out of the Darkness.
Shell Pavlis is a non-professional learning to navigate the world of suicide prevention. As a volunteer of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Orange County, California, she chats with people who, like her, are affected by suicide. Hear their real-life stories, learn how they keep living life to the fullest, and find out what can be done to stop suicide. Join the conversation with fellow AFSP volunteers and mental health professionals, all of whom have their own stories about suicide. Let's find hope out of the darkness.
Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm Shell Pavlis. I'm the host. And today, my special guest is Jennifer Sandowski, and I want to tell you about her. I really wanted to have this conversation with her because she has a lot of different perspectives about some really important things that I want to discuss with her today. She is a mental health advocate. She's a public speaker. She's a published author. We'll talk about her book, which you can find at Amazon in a little bit. And she also has a background in pharmaceutical sales. So I'm really interested to talk to her. We'll dive into why that is a little bit important a little bit later on in the show. The first thing that I want to do is welcome you, Jennifer, of course. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Shelley. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm very grateful for this wonderful opportunity.
Oh, so happy to have you here. I can't wait for our chat today. We actually met in an AFSP advocacy online webinar, and we were both in the chat, and Jennifer had some amazing questions and insights, so I reached out to her because I knew that Jennifer, you were someone that I wanted to talk to.
No, I'm just so grateful that you were there and that you saw the comments and, it resonated with you. And I think it's an important topic that we're discussing today. So I'm so appreciative that you did reach out. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So let me touch upon your book, first of all. So your book, which is, the easiest place for people to get it is Amazon, of course. And it's called, yes. I don't want to butcher the title. It's called The Secret Chamber of Forgiveness. And given is in caps, An Inner Journey of a Lifetime. And then along with the book, you get a workbook, you get free downloads. It's actually, meant to be, why don't you explain it? Because you wrote it.
Okay. So I think that actually I wrote the book many years ago, and then I revisited it years later after much life experience. So I did have to do some tweaking and to design it. But forgiveness is a very important topic in itself because something that nobody is void of experiencing in this lifetime is hurt, rejection, loss. There's so many things that we deal with, and that these things become a part of who we are. And sometimes we're navigating through life trying to have happiness and joy and peace, but there's these barriers that are stopping us from being able to let go and enjoy our lives and to be productive and to have insight into what's going on deeply inside of us so that we can release these things. And so this book was created in a visual type of a way. And what it does is it creates these characters. So we have a little character that's anger. We have a character that's frustration. We have a character that's sadness. And every time an offense comes into our lives, whether it's a breakup, a divorce, the death of a loved one, a financial hardship, whatever it is that is causing us to have some sort of grief, that character travels down this pathway, enters into the secret chamber of our heart. and it resides there. And all these little characters and victimizations wind up in this little secret chamber. The door closes, the deadbolt locks, and now these little guys are wreaking havoc in our existence. So this book uses a forgiveness tour guide to shine the light on each victimization so that we can start to see and unfold and unpeel and discover the things that are hurting and holding us back and keeping us hostage, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to learn how to open this up and start to release some of these victimizations. And this will help us to have quality relationships. It goes into relationships. It goes into trying to find a healthy partner. And, it's really a delightful read. It's an easy read, but yet it's impactful. So I do think that, go ahead, hon.
Yeah, thank you. And sure. What I like about it is it actually, for some concepts which are a little bit difficult to even conceptualize sometimes or break apart, it actually just makes them tangible and manageable. The way you characterize them, so it just makes it, I think, easier for people to process and figure out, what, and work through some issues. And you have experience in your life with trauma, with family members who suffer from schizophrenia. So you have personal experience with mental health and mental wellness issues. So I just really like the perspective that you come at with the book. And one of the things that you also provide to anyone who would like it, regardless of whether you get the book or not, is actually a mental health report. And there's so much in that report. It covers I won't tell you all of them, but it covers topics like nutrition or exercise or faith. It goes into tips or suggestions like honesty, being honest with yourself so that you can move forward, empathy. And I just want to read one little section of this because to me, this is really important for people to understand so this is directly out of your workbook, and it says, if you only look at your symptoms as an illness and believe it's merely a neurotransmitter malfunction, then you disempower yourself from spiritual and internal growth. Our genes and abnormalities, whether mental or physical, are an expression of various life stressors, as our environment plays a role too. And what's important, I think, as a takeaway from even just that small section is that if you only look at just the physical, you take away your own empowerment to make a change. You take away your hope for a different kind of a life for yourself. That's why I think this is so, so important. I'd love to have you comment on that.
Sure, absolutely. See, this is why I developed the Mental Health Life Report, which is a 20-page report filled with options, wisdom, and insight. And it touches base on various factors. So, for instance, we go into inner facilitators, which is the first half. That's a person's thoughts, their actions, their words, their belief system, everything that is inside of us that's projected out. Mm-hmm. And then the second portion is the outer facilitators, which is all of the variables, all of the things that we have, resources that we have that we can turn to help us with whatever condition or emotion or feeling that we are experiencing. So, for instance, nutrition and gut healing and understanding how that influences our neurotransmitters, or if there is a brain dysfunction or something going on in the brain, whether it's a neurotransmitter dysfunction, too much serotonin, too little serotonin, too much norepinephrine, too much dopamine, not enough dopamine, too much this, not enough that. You see, when we start to understand that, I'm going to say approximately 90% of our neurotransmitters come from our gut and are communicated to our brain. Okay, so gut healing and digestion and eating the right foods, I mean, we all know Nobody doesn't know that nutrition, healthy nutrition, eating organic greens and fruits and having a good time with all the colors, making it such a fun experience. This helps to cleanse the body. It helps to reduce inflammation. Inflammation causes everything to go out of whack. Our neurotransmitters, our hormonal responses, our fight or flight. When something triggers us, all of these chemical reactions, all of them, right? We have to offset these things, and we have to have. It's like being in a war, and you can't go in with just one little thing of defense. You have to have an army with you.
Good
and
analogy.
The army comes. That's right. And that army is food, nutrition, spirituality, knowing that we have a supernatural force, a creator, a father that's in heaven that created us, that loves us so very much. And people, have to know in their spirit that they have a 24/7 access free hotline to the Father. To pray, to talk to him, to cry to him, to be angry, to be hurt, to ask him for help. And we have to be able to reach out and know that we have access to that. We can do it in prayer and meditation as well, using some uplifting music. So again, you see, we disempower ourselves when we just keep it in one, when we just target it. It's a brain disorder. And if you stop there, then the only thing that you're going to do to treat the brain disorder for lack of knowledge or wisdom is just go to the medication alone. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that. We'll stop with that right there. But I want people to know that they do have many options, and this is something for each person, whether we have a mental health disorder or not. These are things that we can all utilize, including the families who are dealing with somebody who has a mental health challenge. The families become very stressed out and they don't know what to do. This report should be used with their therapists in formulating their own treatment plan.
I love that concept. Yes, because there's not everything on the list is meant to be used by an individual. You need to go through the mental health report and actually figure out, preferably with a professional, what works for you, what your individual plan should be. And I love that concept.
100%. This is a la carte. This is mental health a la carte. That's right. For me, I go to the spiritual section first. To me, he's my source line. He comes number one, nutrition, and then exercise come number two, nature and having fun, proper
That's
sleep,
great.
Supplementation. So I would maybe pick 5 of those or start with 1 or 2. And then, you formulate your own plan. I'm going to address my thoughts today. I'm going to be more mindful about what it is I'm thinking and how to change that thought from what it is currently that's really bringing me down to one thought, just one thought that day. You turn it around and see if that changes the trajectory of which way you're going to go that day. You could want to stay on a couch, which I've done for many years. I battled mental health myself for many years, so I understand the language very, very well. Sometimes I've been out of commission, and then there's other times where there would be one thought that got me up to do some exercise. I'm going to put some music on. Boom, there I am.
It's about small changes, isn't it? It's about just a tiny, small change, and then moving forward, and then, doing another after that. Just small, tiny steps, and you talk about that as well. And of course, we'll pop links in the show notes so that you can sign up so that you can get the mental health report. And then we'll also put the easy link to be able to get the book in the show notes as well. We want to take a quick break and recognize that today's podcast episode may not be appropriate for everyone. If you are in crisis or know someone who is, please call the Suicide Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 or text the word HELP to 741-741. And of course, if you feel you or someone you're with are in danger or experiencing a medical emergency, call 911. I like that you you look at it from an all-encompassing point of view, and so before we dive into kind of the medication and the black box warning, which I want to talk about, which you also mention in your mental health report, I do want to make it clear that you are not anti-medication. We are not anti-medication. We are not talking about, we're talking about figure out what's best for you. We are pro-information.
That's right.
Get the information, find out everything that you possibly can about the drug, either that you are being prescribed to take or that your child, or if you're a guardian, a youth that who is in your care is supposed to take. Educate yourself. That's what this is about. So know everything about it before you decide that is a good plan, and incorporate all of these other tools as well, so that there may be a possibility, if your therapist or professional agrees, that you might be able to be less dependent on medication.
I am not. Sometimes people have said that I'm anti-psychiatry, and I'm not anti-psychiatry. I'm a believer that it is one piece of a whole pie. Unfortunately, I believe that many people are making it the whole pie, and then anything outside of that is the one piece, and I'd like to turn that around. I am not anti-psychiatry, but I am pro-transparency, and I'm pro-options.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I think that is really important. And so let's talk a little bit about the black box warning. So for our audience who might not be aware of what that is, do you want to explain, or?
Sure.
Okay,
a black box warning, and a lot of people are not familiar with this language because they have not been in the medical background. I have a pharmaceutical background, so I may be a little bit more familiar with what that means. And I think that just giving that awareness to people to understand that what a black box warning is a bold warning from the FDA given to the pharmaceutical companies for a specific drug, and it's a warning that is in bold. So it's not like the side effects that you would see in your package insert. This is in a black box, so it's bold. It's saying that this is it's a likely potential, and it should be looked at, and it should be noted by the families and the people that are afflicted.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so in 2004, the FDA issued the black box warning for antipsychotics, and so that's what we're going to talk about, today.
Yes, well, 2004. Just a little slight correction there. It's the antidepressants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Antidepressants. Thank you.
We could get into antipsychotics.
Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Thank you for correcting. So this was the first time, really, that there was this huge warning about the dangers of these types of drugs and how they could cause suicidal ideations and cause people to attempt suicide. So explain from your point of view a little bit about that and why that warning is so important, and how people, even though it's a big, huge black box, on the packaging, how some people are not even still either seeing the warning or understanding it.
Excuse me. So, okay. This is something that I would like to see happen as a change in this area. I think that every doctor should have a disclaimer when a patient comes in or their families come in with their child a disclaimer just with the black box warning stating that they saw it and that they have to sign on that. And the reason why is because, number one, it gives that family or the person afflicted the ability to say, okay, this is a potential side effect, okay? But then that doesn't mean that the person is not going to choose to go on the drug. When people go on cancer drugs, they know what side effects are a potential. People are going to go on to different drugs for various reasons. The reason why this should be a mandatory thing is because then the dialogue is openly discussed and treatment plans can be formulated around that. Okay, doctor, so if I give this to my child, what should I be looking out for? Because currently the doctors, when this black box warning first came out, the doctors were afraid and they panicked because they said, how are we going to prescribe this medication? How are we going to do this? And it was like they want a therapeutic effect for their patient. Okay, but now there's this big black box warning standing in front of them. And it was like, what do we do? Our hands are tied. Okay. And so somehow what happened is that after all these years, it's there. It's right. When the person takes the medicine into their home, it's in their home. It's in their package inserts. Okay. But it's not being discussed with the doctors. And I think that this fear has overridden common sense. And common sense is that, again, the doctor and the parent or the person afflicted needs to have open dialogue and say, okay, what do I look for? Instead of a doctor saying to the patient, this drug is, one of the side effects is somnolence. You may get a little bit tired. So the best time to take it is in the evening, maybe after you eat a little something, and then you'll have a good night's sleep. And people walk away feeling very hopeful, okay? But that's not the case, and we need to reevaluate and address it differently so that a parent can say, okay, what do I look for? Should I create a little journal to see if my child, say, is withdrawing more? That I could keep an open eye if they're becoming a little more active to be able to have the conversation with the child. And if anything is going astray, they have that contact with the doctor to say, what's happening. And they can talk to their teenager. Now, I'm speaking about the teenager because the black box warning is for children up to the age of 24.
Yes.
That one of the potential side effects of this black box warning is suicide and suicidal ideation. So we don't know then, is it the depression that took this kid's life, which we're having in an epidemic proportion for years now? Years. This has been an epidemic problem that we're working on. I know here in Colorado, we are actively working on trying to create a new hotline, parity laws, things of that nature, so that psychological issues are treated the same as medical with the insurance companies. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on over here. And when it comes to the teenagers, the black box warning is that, it can take the child's life, the medication. And people need to understand it from that perspective. However, some people are helped and have minimal side effects. So if they're going to be helped and they feel, I just spoke to a girlfriend the other day, she's on an antidepressant. For her, she says, I don't really have any side effects and it helps me to feel a little bit better. It takes the edge off. I said, well, then keep doing what you're doing. Okay, for me, it didn't work. I had very bad withdrawals. I go through withdrawals continuously. I'm off the antidepressants. And I finally caved to try them after selling them for many years. And I wound up having a lot of side effects and withdrawals. So that's another thing we're going to need to discuss here, is the withdrawals and the addiction that they create, including benzodiazepines for anxiety. So these are things we need to discuss.
Yeah, I love that you're hope and the message that you want to get out is that use the black box warning as the sounding board to begin the discussions, because the discussions are so important. And when a caregiver has someone that has mental illness, it's so complicated, and you can't just throw a drug at it and then and then see improvement. That's not how this works.
It truly isn't, and unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm an expert in this field.
Yeah.
Coming with a mom, a brother, and an aunt with schizophrenia, and then myself going through my own mental health challenges to a very severe degree. I understand the whole road of medications and the side effects, and I had to watch them. So I am an outsider. I am a family member. Like other family members, I am a family member. But I am also a person who's been afflicted. I'm also a person who went to school and got a psychology degree. I'm a person who went into pharmaceutical sales and sold antidepressant and antipsychotic medication. My whole life has been revolved around mental health and spirituality. And so, I want to be able to offer whatever I can in terms of insight, options, wisdom, encouragement, inspiration, and anything that I can offer to lift the morale of this whole industry, really. It's a broken mental health system, and it's going to take team effort for all of us to come together and to start to move in a better direction.
Very, very true. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your personal experience with the drugs and the withdrawals. I know.
I've seen it all. I just, something that was very personal to me was, I don't know, but how long ago it was, I don't know, 6 months maybe, I posted a picture of my mom who passed away in 2019. And she was a woman that suffered a lot, and but she was an amazing woman too, amazing, love of my life. And I posted a picture of her, and somebody that I don't even remember, but he remembered me from my childhood. He commented and said, "I remember your mother. She was always sitting at the table smoking cigarettes, and her hands were always shaking, like, a lot." And I immediately deleted it. It hit me. It just came. Oh, it was. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, oh my God. I just, it just hit home. I've seen the institutions. She had to be institutionalized. I put myself into an institution many years ago. I don't know, maybe 12 years now, something like that. And I'll further go into more of my story at another time. This has been a work, a progress, for me to really start to be more transparent. It's easier for me to talk about my family than it is to go into my own personal journey, but it's all leading to something. So, the side effects for me, with brain withdrawals, brain zaps, if I start to come off of the benzo, which, by the way, has an FDA black box warning that was recently added, I think it was in 2020,
yes,
because of the overwhelming amount of complaints that the FDA got from people who were going through severe withdrawal symptoms, and I'm one of them. And when I say severe, the actual anti-anxiety pill that they're giving a person is, if it's fast acting, which they're all fast acting, but like Ativan comes into your system much more quickly and out of your system much more quickly, and it's addicting. Okay, so if you look at it like a drug, it's a drug, and this needs to be looked at it this way. People want to take medication, but these are drugs. When you're a little kid and you have a cough, and your mommy comes and gives you cough medicine, and your cough goes away. You just took medicine, you feel better, and we have been programmed that you take a little something and it makes you feel better. Mm-hmm. But this psychotropic medication, these are powerful, mind-altering drugs, just as heroin, cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, coffee, anything that's addicting, that when you start to come off of it, you have withdrawals. And there are people that have to go in for drug rehabilitation when they're an alcoholic. If you're a coffee drinker and you stop drinking coffee for 1 day, 2 days, you'll start to get a headache. Okay? These drugs, they give us these withdrawals, and these withdrawals are outright intolerable. Intolerable. It's like a person going into detox, and they go into seizures, and they, have to, this is what, so we have to be very mindful about what we're taking, and we have to have a plan. If we're going to go that route, you have to have open eyes, open heart, and a plan.
Okay, and for a little bit of clarification, so that drug is typically prescribed then when someone is in crisis or very near, as an immediate treatment, and then, I don't know what the course of the medication. I mean, obviously we don't, it's prescribed by a doctor, and we're not experts, so I'll throw the disclaimer out there, so that we get it on there. But just, generally from the
not a doctor, I'm an advocate.
Yeah. So generally from the experience, or what you're aware, how long typically are people on this before they are taken off of it?
Okay, so benzodiazepines, say, for anxiety, for insomnia, for, to help people to calm down. Mm-hmm. They are supposed to be prescribed acutely, short term. But however, even if they're prescribed short term, they can almost immediately have the effect of addiction. And this is in the FDA website. So if anybody goes on to the FDA website and just looks that up, just start to read and research a little bit yourself, just so you understand what you're in for, when it comes to taking the benzos. Now, on a personal note, my journey and what I went through, had I known about a few other things, I might have wanted to try some other alternative things back in the day when I went on to Ativan. Okay. But I will say that it for me, it has taken the edge off many times when I was not in a good state of mind and I needed something fast. And so is there a risk-benefit factor? Yeah, and you got to look at that. And, now I'm desperate to come off of it. I am, I still have setbacks and I have things that I still experience, but I'm doing really well. And I do my best to take care of myself and to live by my own mental health life report and the options I've written. I am, using for myself. And so what I find is that the coming off of this product, which I'm working with my doctor on currently, is a process. Don't go cold turkey, people. Not with your antipsychotics, not with your antidepressants, not with benzodiazepines. Do not go cold turkey, because it really create havoc. I mean, it's very bad if you want to get into that. Coming off of an antipsychotic abruptly can cause psychosis. The exact thing that the person is on the drug for, it can cause that. If you come off of an antidepressant abruptly, you're going to go through many withdrawals, depression, severe. You come off of a benzo, withdrawals, and you're going to have severe anxiety. This isn't me speaking. This is all facts, guys. Facts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and with so much information out there, go online, research, or ask, your doctor for materials, or there's so much info out there so that you can educate yourself. And Absolutely. Jennifer, I just want to thank you for being so candid, because I know it's not easy, a lot of times we don't want to talk about ourselves and our struggles. And part of what I'm trying to do with the podcast is to remove the stigma and, start the conversations and feel more comfortable about talking about our mental health, like our physical health. We just have to do this. These discussions are so important. So I really appreciate your sharing your personal experience and your mental health report. I think is really, really, really going to be helpful to a lot of people, as well as your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So we're at the point in the show where we typically ask, we have a listener ask a question. So this particular listener wanted to be anonymous, so I'm going to read the question for you. I've been diagnosed with severe depression, clinical depression, and I'm on some medications. What kinds of questions, or what is a question that I should ask my doctor that I might not think about?
That's a wonderful question. I would ask my doctor if they're familiar with any alternative treatments as well. That, there are things that can either go in accordance with the medication, like, for instance, a really good quality fish oil or turmeric, a quality. You have to be able to do some research on the nutrients, or the supplements rather. Do a little bit of research to find out what a quality supplement would be. Preferably if the doctor has some sort of education in alternative ways as well as the medication. I would want to know, what the doctor's experience is when it comes to anything natural or alternative. Sometimes a doctor will say, if you take the antidepressant, take a fish oil. Like, it seems that part they know to say, but there's more to it than just that. I would also want to know about the potential side effects. It depends. No, just know about the side effects of what you're taking. Make sure to ask the doctor. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And also, before you go to your doctor, if you can come up with a piece of paper and a pen and write down your own questions of what comes to you and what your body and your mind is telling you, that would be, something that you need to have answered by your doctor, and hold your doctor to it. The doctors they're doing their best, and they're giving what they have to give, but we have to be empowered as well. No matter whether it's a mental condition, physical, or anything, that we're having this dialogue with the doctor openly. And so don't discredit yourself. And because there's things in you that you want to know. This is your life. This is your health. And so write down your questions. There's many questions to ask.
I love that. In many ways, you know yourself better than anyone. So you are going to be the best equipped to know what questions to ask, and also, what is important and details about your life. And I love the suggestion about making a list. Everyone, I think, should do that before you go into your doctor's office, no matter why you're going in to the doctor and what that doctor's experience is or what their specialty is. Write down what your concerns are, what your questions are, because when you're in the doctor's office and that discussion is happening, a lot of times you're not going to remember what your concerns are. You're not going to remember, you might get off on a little bit of a tangent, or the doctor might be discussing in a little more detail something that the doctor thinks is important, and you might not get to the things that you think are important. So if it's written down, that is such great advice. I love
Absolutely.
that. Thank you.
Also, just to also remember to keep a little journal of your symptoms, the triggers, what's working, what's not working for you, and try to be consistent each day. doesn't have to be anything overwhelming. It can be something just, jotting down each day a few notes, and try to find the patterns in which is causing this to be, what makes it worse, what makes it better, and also play around with, like the mental health life report. If you took a couple of those things and that were to help you, then you would put that into your little journal. This helps. So, and then you can go back to your doctor and just show the doctor that this is the journal. Do you have any suggestions about this helped me, this didn't? So just be proactive for yourself.
Yeah, that's great suggestion. Yeah, you're bringing in your own data, and that's invaluable to the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful
idea. It sure
idea.
is. Because the doctors do look for that as well. They want to know. They want to be able to help their patients. And so they, the more information and the more clear and specific you can be with your doctor, the better maybe an idea will come to the doctor that they hadn't thought of before. So have that open dialogue.
Fantastic. Yep, fantastic. I love that. And yes, and the doctor may suggest it at some point in a visit if you haven't been doing it before, but why not start it before you even, talk to someone, and then immediately your doctor will have that information to begin with, additional information to help you work together as a team towards your own wellness. Because that's really what it's about, right?
It is about that. Absolutely. And, and at the end of the day, you have to make sure that that's the best doctor for you. And, if there's improvements and, so you have to be just discerning as well. And don't be afraid to put it out there to find somebody who's really going to work with you. It is your wellness, and your wellness is very important. So you want somebody who's going to be available, has, an open mind to alternative things, and somebody who's going to be able to guide you within their capacity of being a doctor. They're not your therapist. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Perfect. So I always like to end the show on a hopeful note and in a positive way. So I want you to share with our listeners something that you do for your wellness that maybe someone else could take away and actually try themselves.
Okay, so, there's various things now. It's been a work in progress, and it hasn't always been this way. I've been improving significantly. So some of the things that I do is, number one, prayer. And not just prayer, a personal relationship with the Lord, Jesus, God, and the angels. That to me comes first, because they have carried me through all of this. My life story has been extreme, and that they have helped me tremendously to keep me afloat. I enjoy making delicious, nutritious, colorful food. I love it.
I love
it. And it should be fun. If you want mental health to be fun, and people think, oh, it's healthy, it doesn't taste good. Oh, I beg to differ. You can make quick, nutritious, easy, fun, colorful, and play around. And I do, when I have a delicious meal in front of me and I know that it's nutritious, it tastes good, it's colorful, it brings me joy. I love playing. I'm still a child at heart. I love nature. I love squirrels. Oh my gosh. I always say, sometimes, when I give my views, if somebody will say, oh man, you're batshit crazy. Oh, pardon.
That's okay.
We might have to edit that one.
No, you can say that here. You can say that.
I'll be like, no, don't ever mistake that. I am a USDA certified organic nut, and what nut depends on the type of day that I'm having, right? I love my squirrels. It is no wonder that they are my spirit animal. I just adore them. I love nature. anything fun, and building relationships again, because that was taken from me. And to be able to have relationships and being able to connect with people, it's a delight. It's such a delight. And finding joy in the smaller things for me, whether it's running water in nature, taking walks and hikes, and oh my gosh, the sky is the limit.
I love that. And I'm sure our listeners will be able to relate, to any one of your suggestions. So that's wonderful. Absolutely. And I really, really, again, want to thank you so much, Jennifer, for having this discussion with me, for your candor, and for helping us, again, help remove the stigma and get the word out. It's so important. And again, for our listeners, all of Jennifer's contact information will be in our show notes, access to all of this information. So if you want to reach out to Jennifer yourself, I would highly recommend that.
Absolutely. And the Secret Chamber of Forgiveness at yahoo.com. Certainly feel free to reach out and email me. And then you'll be able to download that mental health life report. Preferably print it out if you can. If you do have a therapist, bring it to your therapist. And so again, the Secret Chamber of Forgiveness at yahoo.com.
Wonderful. Thank you again so much, Jennifer. I look forward to speaking with you again in the future, and maybe joining you again towards shared advocacy. And I'm so happy that we've met.
I am too. Very much.
Thank you again. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are in crisis or know someone who is, please call or text the Suicide Lifeline. You can find out how to reach the Lifeline by looking for the numbers in the show notes of every single episode. If it wasn't glaringly evident in today's episode, I'm not a mental health or suicide prevention professional, and this is not an official AFSP podcast. I am determined, however, to find a way to help stop suicide in my community and to support those affected by suicide.
Thanks for listening to Hope Out of the Darkness. To learn more about Shell, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and how to submit listener questions to be answered on the show, visit hopeoutofthedarkness.com.